Well, now on Authors Revealed, Becky Anderson sits down with Rosalind Wiseman. They talk about her new book, Boys, Girls, and Other Hazardous Materials.
Well, Rosalind, it's great to have you here in Naperville.
Thank you for having me.
Going from Queen Bees and Wannabes and your other books going to writing fiction.
Yeah, that was hard.
I know, I mean, this is amazing. But I want to tell you how fabulous this book is and how real it is.
Oh my
and
gosh,
how
thank
true
you.
it rings. And there aren't a lot of young adult fiction out there that really rings this true. So I want to know.
Well, thank you.
How did you do this? How did you make this transition from going to writing this and doing so much research and talking to so many parents and teens and kids to write what you've done to writing fiction? I mean, how did you make that?
Well, I mean, there was a couple of things. One was I was asked to do it by Penguin, and I really believe strongly in doing things that you've never done before and to do something that's uncomfortable, because I'm always talking to my students about taking the right kinds of risks and to do things that you're scared of doing in a way. And so when they came to me, and Penguin actually also was very good at like snowing me on how easy this is going to be.
Subtle pressure.
Right. I mean, you know, they were also charming and lovely, and they sat around, they're like, you have stories about kids, right? I'm like, well, sure, I have countless stories. Well, you can just put it into some kind of like narrative arc, and it won't be that hard. It'll take you like a year. It'll be so easy. And we're going to give you this person who's like perfect, who like works with nonfiction authors. It's going to be so good and not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And so I, of course, believe that. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done by far. I wrote probably 42 drafts. I probably threw out 300 pages. And if it wasn't really, honestly, for the fact that I had an extraordinary editor at Penguin, I mean, really, they did give me an extraordinary editor.
Well, it shows.
Yeah, I mean, she was able to get me to do these things. I mean, I told her I hated her probably 4,000 times, and it
was a love.
It was a love-hate relationship, but you know, she's like, no, you don't mean that. I'm like, actually, no, I really do, really hate you right now. And but that, and then I felt like one of the things that I realized is that you can be so much more truthful writing fiction than you can in nonfiction, because I'm always I can't say the things that people have said to me, like in their totality, because people tell me all these horrible stories or all these incredible stories you never believe.
Right.
And I never can say where these are coming from.
Right.
And so the fiction gave me the opportunity to actually finally tell these stories. And that was actually hugely cathartic to do that.
And probably add that emotion that you couldn't when you're writing nonfiction.
Yes.
So that's a huge release that you can actually express that.
Yes.
So,
and you know, people don't, like, parents sometimes don't believe me when I tell them stories that are not stories. They're real experiences, and they're like, that's not possible.
Right.
So, and this was a time for me to be able to say, actually, this is possible, and these are all real stories, just sort of wrapped and changed a tiny bit so that you couldn't just say, oh, this happened there.
We've had an incredible conversation with Rosalind Wiseman, best-selling author of Queen Bees and Wannabes, about her first novel for young adults called Boys, Girls, and Other Hazardous Materials. Back to you, Dolly.